Hello, and welcome to an album anniversary and I Survived Youth Group in the 90s podcast crossover. Scott and I got together on a Sunday afternoon and did a little live stream. It took us about an hour to figure it out. Again, we were learning something new. I really wanted to try and simulcast it just because I thought that would be fun, especially because it was a very music-related topic. So I thought it'd be fun to put it on both shows. It took us a while to set up, and I ended up screwing up some stuff. So this is just that conversation. Literally, I just took the audio down, evened it out a little because I was a little loud on the live stream of it, and threw it out there. So I'm going to put this up on the album anniversary podcast, and we'll see about it if it goes up on the I Survived Youth Group in the 90s stream as well. So you might be able to find it in our streams for on all the podcast places. We do have YouTube channels for both of the events for both of these podcasts. We probably will do more of these things. So it was pretty fun just to get together quick and have something to talk about. So if you have ideas that you'd like to join us for a live stream for either show or something that you think would be fun, I plan on doing more tier lists for the album anniversary podcast just because I think it'll be fun, not just Christian music, but all over the place. Yeah, we just want to do that sort of stuff. So if you'd like to join the show, that is the big thing, especially the youth group podcast. If you're interested in joining that, if you want to tell your story, we'd love to have you. We talked about it on the show. I think I got the email address right, but it is isurvivedyouthgroup@gmail.com. Again, isurvivedyouthgroup@gmail.com. Hit us up. We'd love to have you on the show. We'd love to hear your story. That's the whole point. We want to hear people's stories about kind of where they're at. If you're interested in the album anniversary podcast, you can also email me at killedtospypodcasts. That is with an S at the end at gmail.com. You can get a hold of either show through that. That's the email I monitor. But if you're interested in being on the show, let me know. Again, this is just a live broadcast. We did a tier list of our live stream. Live stream? That's not right. We did a tier list for Poor Old Lou albums. It was really more for the experiment of trying to figure this out more than anything else. And we eventually did get it to work. So hope you enjoy and talk to you soon. All right, we're going to do a tier list of Poor Old Lou. We thought that was something that was youth group related and music related. So, right?
Yes. Here we are.
Here we are. Oh my gosh.
We said originally we are going to start at 3 and it's 4:19 p.m.
Yeah, I was a little hesitant when you were like 3. I was like, it took me 2 hours to figure this out last time. So,
well, I'm always an optimist.
Yeah, we should do this. Do you work tomorrow or do you get
No.
MLK'd? So we can do this all tomorrow too. We just all day. I got nothing going on.
Okay.
Stream for like 8 hours.
Watch it so bad. YouTube's like, no, you can't do that.
You stop now. You stop. It's enough of it.
Don't be dumb. So, Caleb, good to see you again.
Yeah. Yeah. Good to see you. You've been gone.
I was gone for a while, couple weeks. We did a lot before Christmas.
You and I, or
you? Yeah, we recorded like 8 episodes before Christmas.
Well, and then I said it on one of my shows coming up on the music one. I tried to get people to record over Christmas. Like, hey, do you want to retire? I was like, I can get ahead on my music one. And no, everybody's like, no, I'm going to do Christmas stuff with my family, Caleb. I was like, oh yeah, fair. So yeah, it was like, it was really hard to find people. I got a bunch done early January, but yeah, it was hard to find people to work over the holidays. So I was like, I get a little time off. I should get more done. But nobody was interested.
I would have recorded with you, but I was not going to do that on my trip with my wife. Recipe for divorce. Caleb, what are we doing today?
We're going to do a tier list around Poor Old Lou. We're going to rank their albums, put them in a tier list. We thought that would be fun. So yeah, that's it. That's all we're trying to do is just do a tier list. This is our first time streaming. I kind of figured it out over the break, but I couldn't quite get it to work. I've got computer issues. I still may think I have one too many computers in the mix here, but whatever.
I could go get an extra one too if it makes you feel better.
Fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's why there's the extra Caleb is dumb hanging out in this meeting, which is true.
Not Caleb the Spy. The other Caleb here is dumb.
I'm Caleb the Spy, and the other guy listening in is Caleb the Dumb.
He's a real moron.
Yeah, both of them are.
Right. Well, yes, you had thrown out some artists to tier their albums. I was like, man, that's a long list that you have, but to relate to youth group and to your music podcast. And if anyone's listened to your music podcast, they've know how much I enjoy Poor Lou, Aaron Sprinkle, and the like. So very appropriate.
Yeah, there's a lot of these. I mean, I'm tempted to look at my list. But I suppose when we're recording, I'm usually a little more like disciplined, like I'm not on my phone or anything. But like, yes, at some point, if we could figure out a third person on this, which actually I don't think would be crazy hard,
Yeah.
like, um, I'd be doing like, yeah, 5 Iron Frenzy, MXPX, Supertones. Like I feel like there's a lot of bands that that we could do tier lists on. So like that was kind of the what I one thought. I thought it could be supplemental material for both of these shows. Although if we go into like, the other one you talked about was the Foo Fighters, and I was like, less related to the old youth group podcast to talk about the Foo
Right.
Fighters. So
Right. Well, maybe for yours. Doesn't
yeah,
always have to be simulcast.
yeah. Well, that might be the other trick is like, well, that's the other thing I thought about is like, oh, is there topics we could do where it's more of a live thing for the youth
Hmm.
group podcast? That'd be interesting.
Yeah,
Drinking coffee.
not.
This is probably a bad decision, by the way.
You know what? It's also a drinking things while you're recording is really good for the audio. Like,
Yeah, yeah. What are you
mm,
drinking?
hmm. What's that?
What are you drinking?
Oh, polar seltzer water.
Well, I like how you went the wrong way with it. Polar.
I
Oh,
did.
I thought you
The
were
best
maybe
kind.
drinking.
No, 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 no.
Okay.
That's after this live stream stresses me out.
Well, I'm sorry about that. I totally stressed you out. I'm so sorry. This
You're
is
good.
I like the idea of the simulcast, and it looks like it actually worked.
I think it's
It's not
working.
perfect, but I think that's kind of fun.
Hmm.
So yeah.
Well, let's
Well,
jump into it. I know we threw up these 9 albums from Poor Lou. Technically, we got a live performance in there. We kind of got a greatest hits in there,
then we
but
got a single at the end there.
we got a single. So, you know what? We'll take it.
Yeah.
We need content.
We don't need content. The shows are coming out regularly. We'll do that
True.
pitch right now. If there's a band you want to do tier list with me on my show, let's talk. We can potentially do that. That might be fun. And then if you want to come on the youth group podcast, I will say it now, like, get a hold of one of us, either on Twitter. That's where both of us are mainly. You can find us on Facebook, although we don't say our last names a ton, so it might be a little
Hmm.
hard. I'm also on Instagram, or email the show, I survive youth group at gmail.com. I do monitor that email box. If you're interested in being on the show, shoot us an email, or you can do Caleb the Spy Podcasts at Gmail. That's an S at the end. Caleb the Spy Podcast at gmail.com. There's a couple Gmail accounts you can email. We would love to have people on the show. And I think heartfelt from both of us, like it really, like, again, whether you are like the exact same you were in the 90s and why is interesting to hear, or you've changed entirely from the 90s or early or 2000s. Like we want to have people on the show. The more stories we can hear with a variety of people's perspectives, the better the show is. That's my opinion. So we are, email the show if you're interested. And we get that it's tricky. You're throwing out your life into the public space, but the more guests we can get on to come on and share their story, the better the show is. I think the variety is good, and we want to hear where people are at. So
But we're having a good time with it,
yeah,
and you'll see in the next few episodes coming up that we have a variety of experiences. That's
yep,
been the case for um, the entire 90s youth group show, where we've had people on many spots in the spectrum. And the next few weeks are going to highlight that. So
yep,
yeah, there's no right or wrong story. There's no right or wrong answer to our questions, and we just want to
yep,
figure out why you're at where you're at now.
yep,
Because man, youth group in the 90s meant something, and it
yeah,
really impacted a lot of people's lives, and you thought things would never change. But alas, music was a huge part of that.
yeah, for sure.
So, should we start in
Let's do it.
ascending order of release?
I think so. I think you got to go from earliest release to last release, which these are not in that order. I just was going fast. So,
Right.
so the first one is Star-Studded Super Step. Star-Studded Super Step.
It's
Maybe
not
I said
mind
it right.
size?
No. Oh boy, we already got controversy from the get-go.
You know what? This is stupid. I'm out of
I'm
here.
out. I'm out. That hour and a half to get ready. All right, let's check. I think it's because I think
You might be
let's see.
right.
Let's see. Wikipedia, don't steer us wrong.
Never. There's never false information on there.
Good radio. I had to text my wife something. Discography. Yeah, so technically their first album is in love with the greenery, which is them
Oops.
as a different band. So
Okay.
they did release one album on cassette only in 1990. Then they had a three-song demo in 91, also cassette only. And then technically Star-Studded Superstep comes out in 1992 on cassette only. It then does get re-released later, but I still consider that their debut.
Sure.
So that's where I would start, and I have reasons for that as well. So yeah,
Opinions. Um, yeah, looking at the song list, we didn't like prepare very much for this. We just
no,
thought we could do Poor Old Lou because we both know them pretty well. But looking at the list, I recognize a few songs, so they are obviously working on a couple of tunes. But it's pretty raw from what I remember,
yes, very
as most
raw.
first albums should be or will
Yeah,
be.
and I think a little under budget. I think that's the other thing that contributes to that first release. Now they went back and like did kind of a. It got like I said, it got re-released later, but
Hmm.
like there's a raw version of Cannon Fire Orange
Hmm.
on there. There's some other ones that I feel like show up later. Maybe not. Maybe that really is it.
Those were the two that stuck out to me.
Yeah. Let me see if I can. Hold on, I'm gonna look something up real quick. Please don't kill my machine.
For those watching and listening at home, Kale's machine is on the brink,
Yeah.
running ever all the
So I have. Yeah. Okay. I think this will work. Cool. Let me. I'm just gonna look up the album in my YouTube music because I kind of throw like little rankings, and I'm gonna see if any of those other songs I've like flagged.
Mhm.
No, it's Cannon Fire Orange is pretty much it. And one person, Kit, who was on the show recently on the youth group or on the my music show, he talked about I think he talked about this album, and I think he made the comment that he's like maybe he made the comment on Twitter. He's like, it never did a ton for me because it was basically just demo tapes for everything else.
Yeah.
So I do think that is it. So I think enough about this one. Where would you throw this on the tier list?
Um, I'd probably put it down at C.
Hey, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Yeah, it shows the talent. It shows where they're going,
Yep.
but it's a little raw and it's really just kind of laying the groundwork for everything else to come.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Which is again, especially back in that day, this is
yeah,
nothing to be ashamed of.
yeah, I still think they were running off a pretty slim budget.
Hmm.
So like I think it's still good. By I mean I'll listen to it, but yeah.
All right. Mind size would be next, right?
Yep.
Yep. Now this one's interesting because I never really liked it at first.
Oh,
I know. Well, I think Sin was probably the first exposure to the band, really.
that's mine as well.
And then going back to it, I'm like, I don't know. But then there are a couple of tunes, and I think as they popped up on the other albums that came out, the live album and the Greatest Hits album, I was like, hey, that is really good.
Yeah.
So, All Pretty for TV, In Love with the Greenery, Cruciality. It's like, all right, maybe I was just too narrowly focused back in the 90s to appreciate it.
Yeah. I I feel like previously for me, this one got the shaft because of what we're going to talk about on the next three albums. I think that is part of the problem is I think if we had started here, like again, this comes out in
93,
92,
92, yeah.
something like that. Like we just weren't here. We weren't in this scene. I think if we had started here, I think we would have been like, holy cow, this is so
Hmm.
much better than everything else. And then we would have just been even more blown away as they got better. But I
Yeah.
agree. It's all pretty for TV, in love with the greenery. I like I think it's something it's the end of side one. I have it on vinyl. Oh, I can do that. Hang on.
Oh boy. All right. No, you can all see Caleb has left me to talk about this by myself. Just show off his one of many, many hundreds of records that he's spent money on. But I will concur that, yes, I did not have the experience with Mind Size that I probably should have. Oh, he's back.
Can't. It's upstairs. Dang it.
Oh, come on.
Sorry, I failed.
Jeez.
Think it's upstairs. I don't know where it is. It's not on my shelf though. Yeah. The song that said kind of ends side A is also really good. It's a really good closing track. And then I actually think Shine, the closer to the
Yeah.
album, is really, really good as well.
Yeah, that's true.
Gets overlooked by, Shine by the Newsboys and Shine by the Prayer Chain. There's too many songs named Shine, but it's a really good closer in my opinion.
Oof, dude, we should do like a prayer chain song tier list.
That would be that would see
Oof.
I think we could do it. It would just take a lot of prep work. That's
Yeah,
not
well,
something I can do raw. So,
duh.
yeah.
Yeah. Anyway.
So yeah,
Um, yeah, again, I wish I gave it more attention and,
I agree.
it's not the album's fault, it's my fault. So, um,
I forgive you, album.
the album should forgive me.
You
Um,
hurt me.
I mean, I would, because for those reasons, I would put it in B tier, but I'm open to
I
something
I think
else.
that's where it belongs. I don't think it's I will say even with like less of the even with like not a nostalgia lens towards their other things, like that's where I would put this. This is that next step. I think it's still really, really good. I'm also a pretty hard grader when it comes to albums, so I'm
Mm.
on board with a B tier for this one as well. Super non-controversial so far. We just keep on agreeing with each other.
No fights yet.
No fights yet. So yeah. All right. So the next is Sin.
Ooh, how do I not put this S tier?
I know this is
See,
gonna get this is gonna
the
get
emotional impact of these next ones are very, very important. So it's separating that from the musical talent is difficult.
well. I think we both would agree. Well, you tell me if you disagree. From a purely nostalgic perspective, both of us are putting this at S tier because of what it means to us
Yes.
from a musical journey. So let's try and separate that out a little bit and see if we can actually. Well, let's gush over it and then we'll see if we can find things to pick at it. Because I have some picks, but it's
Yeah, I mean,
you know not a ton. And I have covered this album on the album anniversary podcast sometime last October of 2024. So is back in the
sounds
feed.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Brian joined me for that one.
I mean, I remember there's just this and Picture the Eighth Wonder in particular, like they go through different styles pretty fluidly,
Yep.
which is fun.
Yep.
Some of the items, or some of the items, some of the songs are, not amazing. There's also not I mean, what would you argue about the closer? Like, it's not a perfect closer. In fact, Complain's maybe not the best opener, but it's still really good.
Well, I'm down with Complain as an opener.
Hmm.
The first three tracks, Complain, Bones Are Breaking, and My World Falls Down. I have I think it's a I mean that my gripe with this album is the middle. It lags a little in the middle for me. Those
Hmm.
first three I think are perfect. I because Complain is the one. I mean, yeah, I have no problem with all three of these as opener. Those first three opening tracks. It's when they hit slow that it slows down too much for me, and I'm like, so slow and I am no good, and even thoughtless are my if I was going to nitpick, it lags a little in the middle for me.
Yeah, but then Where Were All of You just saves the whole thing. Saves the
Yeah, I
whole thing.
mean, yeah. Well, even I
I
mean, even
love that
before that,
song.
Hope for Always is a great. It comes back up.
That's true. I loved and still love that song, Where Were All of You? That's will always be one of my favorite tunes. And I think, while you may slow down a little bit in the middle, um, comes back with some bangers pretty hard.
Yep.
Doesn't fade.
Where Were All of You is my favorite Poor Old Blue song. Still,
Yes.
it still is to this day.
S tier.
I can make an argument for The Waiting Room has some songs on there
Yeah.
that rival it, but I would say that that is my favorite song. And I will say I do think because it closes with Come to Me, right? Or is that
Yep.
because I have a bonus album here? No,
Nope,
Come to
that's
Me.
it.
I will say that is not, I think Sickly maybe is a better closer.
Yes.
It's not as good of a closing track as no, see, Come to Me can't be because Come to Me is only a minute and 42 seconds song. Or four, so Sickly is the closer.
Okay.
So sorry, now I'm getting myself confused. And I think I said this on my show too. I think Sickly is okay as a closer, but I think it kind of gets ruined by the epicness of the closers on the next three albums, in my opinion.
Yes.
So that'd be my other nitpick about this album is it lags just a little bit in the middle. They're still good songs. I am really picking on this.
Yeah.
And then I think Sickly is just okay as a closer. It's not a great closer. So so that's my nitpick. If I take off my nostalgia glasses and just say those are the things I would nitpick about.
So still S tier, right? I
I
mean, I
think
would put
I
it
think it is.
I think it is still. I think it is.
I would put it up against now I'll say this like there's probably people who would say some of the other alternative rock and I'll say Christian alternative rock just because we're kind of focused on that would probably say like oh I like this better or I like that better. I think you and I like it so much maybe because we do like some of the more like I think the fact that it's less polished like it and I don't mean
Yeah.
polished like it's studio polished for
Yep.
sure. It's just a little more grungy. It's a little more hard edge.
Yep.
And so I think that is why it stands out to a lot of the I mean I think of 90s alternative Christian music this is in my top 3. I'm trying to think of something that I like more than it. And I really can't think of it. Squint maybe means more to me from Steve Taylor,
Yeah.
but yeah. So I'm okay with S tier. I can nitpick on it a little, and I can also understand why people may not love it as much as you and I do, but I'd put it up against not just Christian music, I'd put it up against anything in 1994.
Yep.
So
Yeah. It did sound very, very 1994, which was nice for the Christian music industry because they didn't release this album in 1999,
yeah,
5 years too late.
yeah,
So,
I agree. Awesome. Um, okay, so I do want to check real quick. I know somebody was chatting with us a minute ago,
oh,
so I don't know if I can do that here on this. So I just don't want
not
to.
on my channel, on
I don't
yours.
want to ignore the chat. There was people on your channel, I swear.
That was my son.
Oh, funny, 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 funny. Okay,
Nope, I go to live chat. I don't have anything at the
okay,
moment.
good. I didn't want to neglect it. Okay, funny. Probably does. Oh, there's banging the microphone. Good job, me. Probably didn't
It's
help
not me.
the
It's
false
not.
start. Probably didn't help, but I'm so sorry, everyone.
We
Okay,
had like 300 people ready to go, and then they just
yeah.
stopped.
I
Mm,
just didn't want to. That's funny. Your son was chatting. Well, good on him. He's so supportive of you.
he is.
Okay, so then next is technically
Picture
straight
that.
six.
Oh, really?
Yep, I think
I thought
so.
that was after.
Dun,
No, you're
dun,
right.
dun, dun, dun. Yeah, Sin straight six is not. Yeah, so Sin is 94, straight six is 95, and then they re-released Star Studded Superstep also in 95, and then Picture of the Eighth Wonder is
Wonder.
96. So straight six, but I think to your point, I didn't hear straight six until after Picture of the Eighth
I don't
Wonder.
think it was released like these other albums were. I think it came along later
Was
in
from
terms of
Alarma.
in ter oh, I just I just remember stumbling across it later.
Yeah, I think we just missed it because for whatever reason.
Well, but we should still go in order.
Oh yeah, for sure. No, I'm arguing for straight six is the next one we talk about. For sure. All right, so straight six. Talk us through why you what tier you would put this one in.
So this is a little unfair because this is a so what 6 song EP, right?
Looking it up.
Yep. And like there's not as many songs as Sin has, but they are all really good.
Yep. Yep.
They they are really good. I'm tempted just in terms like there's a temptation for me just to be like, ooh, you know, uh, confrontational with myself, like, oh, put it above Sin. Um,
Well, you can.
but
It's in the S tier.
well, no, but then you can rank them in the tiers.
Oh, I'm not doing. Well, I don't feel the need to do that.
Oh
I'm
yeah.
good.
No, 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 no. This is part of the argument.
Oh
Is
my
it
gosh.
lower S tier or upper
Oh,
S
I didn't
tier?
realize we were getting into that. I guess I'll speed up.
Yikes. All right. Haven't you ever seen these before? No,
No, I'm not cool.
I I think this album is so good. And again, there's only 6 tunes, but each one of them are really good in their own way. I always, for the love of my country, was right up there immediately when I heard it. Um, but even Speak Soft as the closer was it's just so beautifully gentle. I still don't know what they're talking about. I probably should look that up, but you probably know, so you can
No,
just tell
no,
me
no, no.
what.
I can't tell you what it is talking about.
Um,
Speaking
but
soft, I've heard. That's what
probably
it's about.
we just lost the listener we had. Um, I just I have nothing but affection for each of these songs.
Yeah. I Slipknot, fine. So here's my well, if we rank them in the tier later, that's fine. I can bring some of these things. We can re-bring some of these things up, but Slipknot's just okay in my opinion. So I would say five of these songs are killer, and then for love of the country, this is for love of my country. No, that's not okay. I thought that was a repeat from one of their previous albums, but that's not true.
I think it is.
Is it? Is it on? Oh man, I'm gonna.
I think it's on. No, maybe you're right.
No, I get
You're
that
right.
and
All
All Pretty
pretty.
for TV
Yeah,
confused.
yeah.
So it's not a repeat. So never mind. I'm wrong about that. So yes, I will say it. Like the five songs on here, Lie Lie Lie, Bittersweet, Digging Deep, For the Love of My Country, and Speak Soft are perfect. And my second favorite Poor Old Lou song is Digging Deep.
Mm,
So that's how much, I mean, that is the song probably even more than Where Were All of You when I think about I think that's what's so weird is that they break up, and I think that's when we discover this. And I remember hearing Digging Deep and just being like, my goodness, they're
goodness. Yeah.
amazing. And yes, and it helps that Jeremy Enoch is on it and he's great. His vocals add so much to it. But I mean, I think it's kind of overwhelming how good that song is. And so, like, I have no problem with an S tier for an EP. I don't care that it's only 6 songs. It's so great.
So good.
Yeah.
All right. Throw it up there.
Okay. Na-na-na-na. All right. Then is the a picture of the eighth wonder. That's the title. I always mess up the title to this one.
You know when a band comes out with a follow-up album to a really good album and you're like and you get disappointed by it because you're like, "Oh man, it's just not as good." That is the exact opposite of what happened with this one. It was I remember very, very clearly getting it, being very, very excited to buy it, and then just loving it. You and I did the podcast on your show for
Yep.
this album.
Yep. So I've
Um,
also covered this album on my podcast.
this is going to turn into another advertisement for your podcast, but
It kind of
uh,
is.
I there are a couple songs that kind of slow down a little bit, but they're still really interesting. They get back to some of the, hey, let's throw in different genres, different instruments here and there. Um, a perfect closer. I love closing down. Such
Yep.
a good song. So yes, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I don't want to throw it to S tier anyway, but you could make an argument that it's top A tier.
Oh, I why this is where this gets a little hard. Like this is where I would if this is an S tier, I don't know what album is. Like there's not a
Yeah.
bad song on this album. Rail is a 7 minute opener
Yeah.
that you are compelled through the entire thing.
Yep.
And it's not just that closing down is a great closing song. That's like how long is it? It's like 5 minutes. But in combination with Hello Sunny Weather as the right before the end song, what's
Yep.
that? There's a word for it. Starts with a P. Everybody's
Penultimate.
there you go. This album starts and closes so strong, but then it never loses. To me, it just never loses steam. The moments where they bring the energy down are the right moments to bring the energy down
Yeah.
because they help bring the energy back up. I I would argue from a nostalgia perspective, Sin goes higher for me,
Yes.
but from a craft, this is their best album, in my
Mm.
opinion. It is perfectly crafted. It's all four of them working so well together. On Sin is where you really start to see Nick and Jesse work so well together, and on this album, it's perfect. They are the backbone of this album. That rhythm section on bass and guitar, Scott just nails it, and I think this is where you really see Aaron come into his own as a songwriter because I think he's writing a lot of these, or at least he's the thrust for a lot of these, even if it is a very collaborative effort. And I think this is their best crafted album, even if it may not be my favorite album by them. And I know I'm splitting hairs there, but that's my take on it.
Hey, I'm okay. Throw an S tier and then we can
Okay.
argue which one's better.
Okay, we're gonna have to because I hate to say I'm gonna. Okay, so yeah, there we go. There's that one.
Yep. Now that
Okay,
was 1997 or 98, right?
I think it's 96.
96.
Yep. Let me
So
get back
you're
to.
right in the middle of money being pushed into Christian music, talent being pushed into it, and I think it was just like you said, there was
Yep.
so much time spent on it. It was and money and talent again. I'm repeating myself. I apologize. It's I think the result of that is exactly what you say. Almost it's basically a perfect album.
Yeah, there's very few albums in my collection. So I use YouTube Music to listen to music, and so it's my stuff that I've uploaded. And you can do this. You can like songs,
Hmm.
and I have very few albums where every song is liked, and this is one of them.
Nice.
So there you go. All right. So the next album that comes out is their live album in their final performance. So it's 2 years later.
Yep.
Again, this comes out in '96, and then this comes out in '98. Even though I think they did break up shortly after Picture of the Eighth Wonder was released. So
Hmm.
their next one is their live album, though.
I really like this one. There's so much that is. I think this was the album where it really turned me on to some of their older stuff that I hadn't heard before.
Yep.
And then you also get the hip hop or the rap in All Pretty for TV, right?
Yep. Yep.
Um, and it's I think it's a perfect. It really felt like it was, hey, this is a recording of their show, and it wasn't a hodgepodge of different songs. It's like, yes, this is what their show sounded like. This is how I remember them.
Yeah. I agree. I think it's a an accurate recording of their live show. So I think that
Hmm.
is good. Um, one of my so well, I don't. The crowd is a little off in it. There's some recording elements to it that I think are lacking.
Hmm.
There's better live albums that are just recorded better. And I don't know if this was a bit of a spur of the moment thing where they just were like, "Hey, we should record this." hey, we should release this. And so there wasn't as much planning put into it. It does at times sound a bit like a bootleg where somebody was just like, hey, can I plug into the soundboard
Hmm.
and pull this off the soundboard? Where like if you're really recording a live album, that's not how you do it. You
Right.
put a little more into it. And so that's my one pushback is that there are moments in this where it doesn't pop the way you want a live album to pop sometimes.
And that's fair. I were back during this time, um, not that these are the same band by any means, but Pearl Jam was getting to the point of recording um, all of their live performances and then putting them out on their own website to sell because everyone was bootlegging them anyway. They're like,
Sure.
well, let's just record it better, right? Pearl Jam's obviously going to have way more money and better system and everything, but I think there was a lot of that happening at the time of, oh, people are interested in the live album stuff. So, yeah, it's a little raw in that regard
Yep.
and not quite, like you said, just kind of trying to get the essence of it by plugging in, but that's okay. I still really enjoyed it. I wouldn't put it S tier. I'd probably put it A, um, because I again understood more of their music through it, but
Yep.
there's nothing.
I like A. I could go low A, high B is where I'd probably land, but I'm
Yeah,
okay. I'm okay going at A. It is a I don't know. It's interesting. Like you know, not to make every show about Five Iron, but here we go. Five Iron has two live albums, and I just feel like those feel there's something about those that feel more. I don't know, more them. Where this does, I don't know if this always feels like Poor Old Lou as much as it feels like, and maybe it's partially because they were ending.
yeah,
I don't know if their ending was a little more sour. Where like Five Iron's first live album was like, "Hey, we've been touring nonstop for 3 years. Let's do this." And then
yeah,
their final show was like an emotional goodbye. Where
yeah.
this was more of like, well, I guess we're quitting now. Like, so I don't know if there's just it feels different. It doesn't feel as celebratory, maybe, and so that's maybe another thing. So, but anyway, I'm fine with an A tier. All right, next then is their greatest hits album, the
Hits album.
Chronos.
Yeah. I
Chronos, I
just
think.
think this is a fun summary of what they had done, of course, up till this time. Um, the song Cruciality, which they opened with, is the first time I heard it when I heard it on this one, and I
Hmm.
was like, "Oh my gosh, that is a great song." So I had realized I had missed a whole bunch, but basically throwing a couple, half of Sin and half of Eighth Wonder on there to finish it up.
Yep,
Not a bad idea, but
yep. And I so it's funny. I think this one hurt the live album for me in a little because it ends with Hello Sunny Weather and then closing down, which I kind of wish they would have ended the live show with because they
yeah,
don't. They end with Sickly and then Where Were All of You or
I think
something.
so. Yeah.
So that's the other thing that this one kind of ruined it. I will say it is just a greatest hits album. It's not
There's no
it's
special
great.
recordings.
Yeah. There's not yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. There's nothing like maybe there's one Chance for Chancers gets a remix and
My
then Where Were
they
All of
ended
You
that
gets a remix.
they ended the live performance with Sickly and then My World Falls Down.
Oh, my bad. Yeah.
So
So,
so
yeah.
yeah, I mean it's basically everything that's on the other albums, which is not bad. It's a really good summary of what they've done. I mean, I would put it B just because there's nothing special about it.
Yeah. That's where I was thinking too. So,
Yeah.
non-controversial. All right. Then we get
Here
a
we go.
4 year gap, and then 2002 we get the waiting room. I think it's 2002.
It is. I think so. Yeah.
Oh, I gotta look.
It
Yeah,
it
2002
was.
from Tooth and Nail. That's the other big distinction here is they switch from Alarma to Tooth and Nail because I think Alarma had died.
I think it was '03 actually.
Wikipedia is saying 2002, and I listened to this in China, and I was in China from 2001 to 2003.
See what this album reminds me of. I graduated college in '02, and then um, Kate, who's my girlfriend, who now we're married, she took off and went to Japan to teach English for a year right after
Mm-hmm.
college. And I remember this album coming out when she was gone. She came back in the summertime, and I was pretty sure this album like came out right as she was coming back, but my memory's fuzzy. So
Let's see when it's actually on my calendar. Like, the calendar that I use to track all these.
you're official.
Yeah. September 24th, 2002. And
Okay.
Jesus Freak Hideout also confirms that. So
So
I feel pretty good
so
about that date.
I was still reeling at that point because she'd left me
But I
for a
was here
year.
for you. No, I was in China
No,
too,
you
I
were in
think.
China, you jerk.
Yeah, we
Um,
both left you.
so but I mean, this for that reason, this album has a special place. Um, I I think again, opener and closer are very good.
Yep.
A Waiting Room as a closer is a very, very good song. Um, I think I needed it at the time because it kind of ends pretty heavy.
Yep.
The rest of it is pretty good too. I wouldn't say I don't I wouldn't say it's S tier. I might even put it B, maybe low A. But I mean, there's some good tunes on here that made you think, oh wow, I'm really glad they're back.
Yeah. Yep. The strength of this album, in my opinion, is the last four songs.
Yeah,
And if you're gonna be like, one of those things that people throw out questions on Twitter, they're like, "What's an album that ends really, really well?" Like all of their album, they got into this thing where they ended albums well. Like a picture of the Eighth Wonder has "Hello Sunny Weather" and "Closing Down." I think "Speak Soft" is a great closer on the Straight Six. And then this one ends so well when you go Praying for a Perfect World, Crowded, Friday to Sunday, and The Waiting Room. The Waiting Room makes me cry every time.
yeah,
Every every time I listen to it.
yeah.
It's not as raw as their other stuff, but it might be their best closer if you're gonna try and cross over into pop music a little bit and be a little more mainstream. It's so good. So that's for me is like I love this album for that, for those last four songs. And yes, some of the middle is not as strong as maybe A Picture of the Eighth Wonder, but I this is a strong, strong album for me.
I I probably cried during the waiting room for as well for many reasons. You were gone, you were out of the country. Um, but I mean, the lyrically that one as well
Yep.
was really hit me. So yeah, I agree with you. There's not, the first half isn't great. I still like Revolve as an opener, but
Oh, I love
um,
the first three of the first four. Revolve Now and Crushed, I think are all also I have those flagged as favorites. So I like
yeah,
three of the top four.
yeah.
All right, what are you doing with
Um,
this one?
I'd go A.
I can go A. It borders on S at times, I'll be honest.
Uh,
Uh
nice.
just but this also shows a bit of my like how much I really do love this band.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I'm bored. I'm tempted to push this up into S tier because it ends so strong. And again, I've covered this on the show all the time. I love ending. Album endings are so important. I love a good ending to an
Yeah.
album, and I think they're one of the reasons I feel that way. So
Yeah.
all right, and then 11 years later, 2013, they released the single "A Great Renown." And I will say, I know we're including
Unwound.
this one. What's
Unwound.
that?
The Great Unwound.
Unwound. Oh, my bad, my bad. They actually do have a bunch of other singles that were like on compilations. So it's funny
Hmm.
that we're including this and not any of those. Like Drenched Deep was on like
But they
there's a
had
there's
released that otherwise.
yeah, but what is it? I gotta look it up. But there is some other random stuff that they ended up recording for other compilations. But so I know we're playing a little with goofiness here, but this was it was for charity, I think, and they recorded this. We're also getting new songs from them on the Straight Six EP. They're covering two songs. So we're gonna get for those of us for those of us who bought the vinyl, because I think that's the only place you'll be able to get them. There is some new Poraloo music coming out. It's just cover songs. They're covering like a Cure song and another song. But so I did get the Street Six EP, so I'm really excited for or vinyl release that'll come out hopefully sometime this year. So there is some new Poraloo music making its way, which I'm pretty excited about. So anyway, this song.
I love the song.
Yep.
S tier. Give it to
S
me.
tier,
Inject it to my veins. It's just like I want. They're
but it's just
back.
one song.
I know. I know. But it's a really good song.
It's a really, really good song.
Yeah.
You want S
Um,
tier?
no, 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 no.
Yeah,
I would go. I mean, it's just one, right?
yeah.
So I go high B, low A.
This is where I would go. It's really great, but it's it's a bit unsatisfying. Like I remember that I don't think I saw this in 2013. It was a couple years later, and I was like, "What? There's a new Poro Lu song," and I was like, "Oh, this just makes me sad."
I want more of it. Yeah,
Yeah, it's
like
like
in a good way. Yeah.
yeah. So that's where I'd go B. I could go A, but
Well,
I'd probably go
I
B
agree with
just
you
because
on
one
that.
song.
I would rank those in the B tier as Great Unwound first, and
Great
then Mind
Apothering.
Size second, and then Chrono third.
I can get behind that. Although I really like Mindsight. I have this on vinyl too, even though it's somewhere in the house and I don't know where it is. We had company over, so I
What
brought a
don't you
bunch of
have on
like
vinyl?
there's a lot. I mean, I have way more than I
Kidding.
should for somebody who's only been collecting for 2 years now.
And you would, I think we'd both agree, Waiting Room is above the live performance.
I'd push pretty hard for that. I
Yeah.
really like the waiting room. I mean, it makes my top 150 albums list.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's clearly my affection for it. Like these top four all make my top 150. So
Besides Five Iron, are there any bands that are on there that much?
Jeff Rosenstock and Poor Old Blue, I think are the
Yeah.
only two. And if you want to get really picky, there's two other Aaron Sprinkle albums.
There you go.
Fair does not make it, although that might be a miss on my part. But yeah, so I mean, I've discovered this year, kind of maybe how much Aaron Sprinkle means to me. I probably have overlooked how important he is because I have three of his albums on vinyl, and
Hmm.
so on vinyl, Me Without You is another one that's climbing pretty high. So all right, these top three. I have a list. I'll be honest. Well, this gets tricky for me.
We just stack them.
Well, here's the deal. I,
Um,
I think I think Straight Six is last out of these two, or these
yeah,
three, just
yeah,
because it's an EP.
yeah.
That's my opinion.
Agree.
It's great. I mean, again, five out of the six albums make my like some of my favorite Poor Lou albums. All
Yeah.
right, so now we're down to these two.
I would, after discussing it here, I would put Eighth Wonder first.
I would as well.
Nice. We're just agreeing
But
with each other.
again, Sin, this is where this gets weird. Sin is, I think, on my top 150 albums list. Sin is higher than a picture of the Eighth Wonder because that's purely about favorite. And there is something about Sin that I could probably be persuaded it may have been an oversight on my part as I've taken
Hmm.
because I've covered both of these on my podcast this year. And so I've taken a deeper dive into both of them this year. Sin stands out so much to me, man, because it's just such a one of it's I Sin the Spark by or by Plank Eye, which you and I are gonna record an episode for my music show coming up with Bill as
Yep.
well. Like so, the Spark is really really important, and then Squint and Pocanacha, like those four albums are such big ones, and Pocanacha by MXPX not as good as any of the rest of those by any means, but what it meant Sin and the Spark are both ones that we pulled off the shelf and
Yep.
randomly were like, let's
Yep.
give this a shot. Squint we got handed to us by our youth pastor,
Yep.
but like Sin and the Spark are so big for me and what they mean to me. So
Well, we experienced both of those at the exact same time, and
yeah,
it was exactly what we needed because it was alternative in every sense of the word
yeah,
for both the genre and to the other things that were out there for us. And we were seeking the Christian version of some of the other bands and
yeah.
to recognize and discover right away, like, oh, the music is actually good. Really, 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 really meaningful. And you always have that feeling if like it's something you discover yourself. It's a little bit harder to feel that way now with the internet, but we had very little assistance in this stuff. We were just giving it a
Oh
shot.
yeah,
This is
gosh,
like you find a diamond in the rough.
yeah. Oh for sure. I mean, we were. I mean, I think that's the amazing thing is, and I'll be quick about it because it comes up often, but like I think we thought we had this really unique experience of walking over to Northwest Bookstore and pulling stuff off the shelf. We've come to find out now that we've met a whole bunch of other Christian music fans from the 90s There was a lot of people doing that. Like if
Yep.
you were into the radio stuff, that made it a little easier. But if
Yep.
you were not, like until Seven Ball Magazine started being a real reliable source and some of those other things, like Man Alive, we were going in blind and just going. And it's going to come out on a show that's not actually CCM, so I don't know if many people listen about it, but or listen to it, covering Spanish love songs, Brave Faces Everyone on my music show. And Jared, our guest, my guest on that show, he talked about this idea that like because we pulled it off the shelf and it cost us $18, there's albums that we stuck with probably longer than we would have
Mm,
because we were like invested in. Like I gave Pet the Fish by Wish Reading way more listens because I don't love that album, but I wanted to love it. And like,
yeah.
do you remember the band Don't Know?
No.
They were trash, like not good. They were like super weird. And I gave that because I got it because it was like it looked kind of punk and it looked kind of cool. And I pulled it off the shelf and I gave it such a hard try. I wanted to make it work like nothing else, but it wasn't good. But
Mm,
I sat with it. I listened to that album way more than I ever should have because it was all I had. Couldn't go to streaming. I had spent $18 on it. I was going to try and make that sucker work and it
sure.
didn't. So
Sure.
anyway,
Funny. Well, this was fun.
yeah, killed a couple hours. Isn't there football on that people are watching?
I do have to cook dinner and kind of want to watch the football.
Oh, okay. I'm
It's
going to
the good
go.
football game coming up.
Oh, there's foot. Oh, go sports ball.
Team. Go team.
When you texted me today that Washington was in the playoffs, I was really thrown off.
If I was a Washington Commanders fan, I'd be very excited about my future. We'll just say that.
I had no idea they were not still the most atrocious team in the league. That's good
Well,
for
I
them.
turned
So,
it around.
all right.
They
Well,
are they are what you would call like B tier.
now we got to figure out how to end this. And I will. I'll edit this, and if you want to throw it up on I'm going to throw it up on my music as a bonus thing,
Sure,
just for fun. If you want to do that on the youth group one, let me know. I can upload it to Spotify, and you can do what you want with it. So
sure,
this was a
sure,
good experience. If you have other ideas for streaming for either shows, let us know. I think that's the other thing. I think we would be interested in doing this again. And if there's something that's more specific to the youth group podcast, I think we'd be interested for doing this. Like if there's something that people want to get together and stream about, just have as a discussion, a debate, some sort of conversation about something. I think you and I'd be interested because why not?
why not is right.
I
I'm
got to figure
down.
out my lighting here. You look a lot better. It's gotten
I got a
dark.
ring light.
You have a ring light?
Yeah, my son had a cooking show and just grabbed a free one off of Facebook Marketplace.
Oh, apparently I should look at Facebook. I don't know where I would
Yeah.
plug more. I have so much stuff plugged in this setup because I have a treadmill plugged in underneath this desk, and my desk is electronic. See, look, there it goes.
This,
The
this
desk
is
is going up.
this is the content you get with live streaming.
Bye-bye. You can look at
That's
all
a
my
good
crap.
no, that's a good way to end. Keep going. Keep going. See you
This is
later.
the best I've looked all day.
This is the right way to end.
All right.
All right.
See you
This is
later.
fun. See ya.
I'm gonna stop streaming. Maybe. I don't know how to stop streaming. That's hilarious. I gotta put the desk back down so I can see
Neither
my
do
computer.
I. Ooh.
Oh, I figured it out. See you,
There we
everybody.
go.
Thanks again for joining us. Like I mentioned at the beginning of the show, if you want to get a hold of us, isurviveyouthgroup@gmail.com is the way to do it. You can also email me for the album anniversary podcast at killedthespypodcast@gmail.com. We're also on Twitter at SurviveYG is the Twitter account for the Youth Group podcast, and Killed the Spy is where you can find me on Twitter. I'm trying to rebrand a little, just push it more to be both me and the show, but fail from the get-go on that. So I hope you enjoyed this little live stream. It was fun to try and figure it out. Sorry it took so long. If you joined right at 3 Central Time, and we really didn't start until almost 4, so I apologize. That was my fault. There was an echo, and it was 100% my fault. I'm an idiot. All right. Thanks, everybody. Talk to you soon.